Alright, hello and welcome. Thanks for clicking on the video. I just want you to please like and subscribe and please comment on the videos. So the main article for this week is going to be hearing loss and its link to cognitive impairment and dementia. Here are the authors that wrote this, and this was published in 15th of June 2023 by the journal Frontiers. So this paper is basically just talking about how hearing loss is kind of becoming a little bit of an epidemic in a couple of years. And the fact is that there is a known link that hearing loss can kind of predict dementia, or more specifically, Alzheimer's disease. I'm just going to take a little note, or I'm going to explain what the last two sentences here are from this abstract. And what it's saying is that through this, we suggest directions for future studies, tackle the lack of adequately randomized control trials in this field, and the submission is responsible for the inability to provide a conclusive verdict on whether to use hearing interventions to target hearing loss. So seems to be a link here, but it's just there's not enough studies to prove that there is a link. But they have been shown that as I progress through this paper, there's other studies that have shown strong correlations within hearing loss and Alzheimer's disease, and kind of determining whether it should be linked as a kind of like a really important risk factor to this disease to kind of decrease the amount of symptoms that are going to come, and subsequently reduce the burden that's going to come from the from the health services that are going to be required for the disease. So if it's a prominent risk factor that's well known, then it should be treated as a medical condition, and that should be treated right away in order to alleviate the future burden to the healthcare industry. And that's what they're trying to position here, because it's very, very important that we kind of short or reduce the amount of cases of this disease and this dementia, in order to kind of reduce the amount of healthcare burden. Because as the years go by, you can see here that the prevalence approaching 140 million individuals by 2050 is going to be a really big aging population at that point. And based on like estimates of how children are not being born as fast as they were back in the 20, 50 years ago, there's going to be more older people, and the burden is going to be even much higher, and people are just going to not be they're not going to be guaranteed to get the care that they need to alleviate the symptoms that come with this disease. I'm just going to jump right into the slide here. Hearing impairment to AD pipeline. So in this article, they touched on that poor cognitive performance are associated with an increased rate of decline. This research has shown that individuals categorized as socially isolated have 50% increased risk of developing dementia. Risk factors include traumatic brain injury, hypertension, depression, diabetes mellitus. And when they excluded this, when they excluded hearing loss, the dementia risk fell by 8%. So it wasn't much. But mild, moderate, or severe hearing loss, particularly in the middle age, specified 45 to 65, has shown to have an increase of dementia from 2, that's mild, 3, moderate, and severe, 5 times respectively, times the chances of getting reduced cognition and dementia. And observational studies suggest that the severity of hearing impairment is associated with the risk of accelerated cognitive aging. So hearing loss seems to affect about 466 million people worldwide. These people suffer about 5%. This is about 5% of the global population, and it's predicted that by 2050, 1 in every 10 people will have this. So if 1 in every 10 people are going to have this in 2050, imagine how big, if Alzheimer's is not treated by then, how big it's going to be in 50 or so more years. It's going to be a bigger burden of this because of this disorder. So it's very important to have interventions as early as possible. Hearing loss or age-related hearing loss, or more specifically presbycuous, affects around 40% of individuals who are 65 and over. Cases of HL, including presbycuous, which is another way of saying age-related hearing loss, noise-induced hearing loss, and ototoxicity. That's basically ear poisoning, usually based on medications that a person may be taking, and that could kind of affect the hair cells within the cochlea and kind of causing aberrant signals to be sent by the auditory nerve. So this all permanent, all these seem to cause hearing loss. So we have age-related hearing loss is polygenic, about 100 genes have been shown to be affected with it, and each makes a small contribution. And we have about 36 to 70% chance of heritability, or chances of this kind of hearing loss being passed on to the next generation. So most cases of genetic deafness imply alterations of the cochlear, an auditory sensory organ. So we have this gene called OTOF that encodes a protein that helps synaptic vesicles get into the synaptic membrane or the plasma membrane. And when you have mutations and it's not able to help these vesicles get inside the membrane, you're going to have aberrant signals being sent by the hair cells, leading to a disruption in auditory signals, leading to the increase of chance of having hearing loss. And then we have another study here done by the UK Biobank where they saw that a genetic risk for AD also influences speech in noise hearing, and additionally, individuals with higher polygenic risk factor for having Alzheimer's disease are likely to experience hearing difficulty than those with lower polygenic risk score. So within presbycusis or age-related hearing impairment, a variety of other mechanisms have also been implicated. So we have metabolic syndrome, so oxidative stress, mitochondrial dysfunction, as well as a increase of reactive oxygen. So you see, we can all see this as the accumulation of problems that occur when you get older. Thus, that can kind of be explained. So if you have a gene or a genetic risk factor that could lead to hearing impairment, you're more likely to have it because usually with aging comes with the increase of metabolic disorders, and these metabolic disorders exacerbate the chances of you having the hearing impairment. So having that and the added fact that you have a gene that causes mutations within the ear that affect auditory signals predisposes the person to having an ear or a hearing impairment or hearing loss. We also have the neurotransmitter imbalance of GABA, among others, and this underlying mechanisms in how these different classes of age-related hearing loss may herald dementia may not be understood as of yet. I have another thing here that, or an illustration that was made by the authors. Okay, so this illustration basically is just explaining how certain things can block or cause the deterioration of the cochlea. So what we have here is the cochlea, and we have neuroperspicuous. This is the primary degeneration of the cochlear neurons, and GABA would stop this from happening. Reactive oxygen species would increase this happening. We have the sensory age-related hearing loss that's happening, which is basically denoted by hair cell loss and subsequent neurodegeneration. If you have SOD1 deficiency or the inability to create superoxide dismutase or a very, very potent antioxidant, you're going to have the chances of this increasing sensory presbycusis. And then we have mitochondrial dysfunction, which can lead to atrophy of stria vascularis of cochlear duct. So you can see a lot of things are going to combine together to kind of cause this death of these hair cells. All right, so as I was saying here, mitochondrial dysfunction may lead to the aberrant signals being caused by this. And following HL, subsequent decline in hippocampal neurogenesis can lead to cognitive deterioration. The hippocampus, primarily involved in memory and auditory information processing, is one of the key areas affected in dementia. So studies in rat models with hearing loss and/or AB administration demonstrate that the group with lower cognitive was the one with both. So they both had the hearing loss and also had the chances of having Alzheimer's disease. So there are also evidences from human and preclinical studies whereby you have hyperphosphorylated tau increasing, and specifically C7B16 mice exposed to noise-induced hearing loss have shown reduced cognition in tau and tau and lipofuscin in the hippocampus. Yeah, so in line with all this, we see that age-related hearing loss mouse models have shown changes in NMDA receptor expression, which can take place after 4 months of natural hearing loss. Additionally, GABA A and GABA B receptors were altered during this time period. The change in these neurotransmitter receptors is implicated in hippocampal synaptic plasticity. So the death of hippocampal plasticity can predict the generation of Alzheimer's disease generation. So we've been talking about all these studies, but what is the cure-all for this? So we have the mitochondrial dysfunction that is common and occurs in any age-related decline that occurs. The common age-related decline that occurs within the body may cause um, the chances of you having hearing loss. We have genes that are associated with hearing loss, and they also have the fact that all this all these changes happening can also increase the accumulation of hypophosphorylated tau, which is a known biomarker of Alzheimer's disease. So what's important about the study? Why are they trying to give us all these information, and how is it that we can cure it? And also, I wanted to add to the fact that we have an increased chance of us having Alzheimer's disease in the future. Can also is also a problem and something that we need to strike as quickly as possible. So, on the conclusion of this study, what they found is that observational, prospective, and retrospective cohort cross-sectional longitudinal studies have linked hearing aids used to low rates of cognitive decline and dementia. Recent data from the UK Biobank support these findings, showing no increased risk of dementia in people with hearing loss using hearing aids. Also, strikingly, one of the studies demonstrated that diagnosis of dementia is associated with a 54% subsequent reduction in hearing aid usage. So that means if you stop using it, then if you have some cognitive decline happening, it's gonna resurge again and then start declining even further, even faster. So it's important that once you have some sort of hearing loss is occurring within a paradigm of mild cognitive impairment, you have to at least get those get those hearing aids implanted or installed within your ears so that it can help with reducing the chances of you of gaining this or increasing your chance of gaining the disorder or the disease specifically. So the main takeaway from this study is that it's very important for people who are ages 65 and plus who are experiencing some sort of hearing loss to go and get some sort of intervention of hearing aids or even some cochlear implants to reduce the chances of their mild cognitive impairment getting worse and becoming Alzheimer's disease. Yeah, so thanks for watching. Hope you have a good day.